Boyfriend lied about important political and personal beliefs. What should I do? Please no political opinions, just relationship advice. My 20F boyfriend, 20M, and I have been dating for 8 months, and when we first got together we discussed how if I ever got pregnant I would get an abortion. We always agreed on this and he never mentioned any discomfort or opposition on the topic. When the Roe v. Wade decision was leaked we started talking about it and he told me how it thinks abortion is murder and that he heavily leans pro-life. This caught me completely off guard, and even after talking about it more with him I still feel hurt and lied to. I guess I'm just asking for people's opinions on this? What should I do, if anything? Too long did not read. Boyfriend agreed months ago if we got pregnant I would get an abortion, but now, after leaked Roe v. Wade decision, he is telling me he's pro-life and doesn't agree with that. If he doesn't agree with something that heavily affects you, then I think you're better off without him. Also, he lied about this, something pretty serious emo. What else is he lying about? He lied to you, either directly or by omission, about something fundamentally different in your beliefs. Not only about something that could be argued as innocuous, but something that will have a life-changing impact on you, should you yourself fall pregnant. Personally, I wouldn't continue the relationship. This is an enormous deal-breaker. It sounds like he's okay with abortion when it immediately affects him, if you accidentally got pregnant. But when it doesn't immediately affect him, other people having the right to abortion, he is completely against it. To me that screams privilege and is not okay. Seems very much like he's that type of person where it should be illegal and I'm morally against it, unless it personally affects me. If he can lie about that, what else has he lied about? I'd personally jump ship if I were you. It's fine to not have similar opinions in relationships. You can disagree on taste in music, food, decor. You can compromise on them. You can't build a relationship when you don't share a moral foundation. He's shown you that not only does he not believe in your bodily autonomy, but he also believes that the entire nebulous spectrum of things covered by the term abortion are all actual murder, and he cares little enough about you to knowingly lie to you about all of it so he can get a chance to sleep with you. 8 months. Not a lifetime. Dump him. Misogynistic hypocrite. He probably does mean that he's happy for you to get an abortion if you get pregnant. He thinks it's murder, but if it suits him it's okay. 40M. Snooped on my partner's 40F iPad and can't stop thinking about the work texts. Throwaway because shame. My partner and I have been together for 10 years and built a great life. We've been through a lot and have both grown a lot. Recently her career has skyrocketed, which means frequent stretches away from home. I'm proud of her, although it means the bulk of domestic stuff falls to me. She recently came home from a week away and has been off-kilter, spacing out, ignoring me when I talk to her, staring at her phone and sometimes hiding the screen or quickly turning it off. It was enough to make me suspicious, so I shamefully looked at her messages on the iPad. For what it's worth, we've always shared passwords and things, it's never really been an issue. Anyway, amongst all the usual people she texts, friends, family, there was a male name, Matt, not the real name. I read through them and a picture emerged of familiarity and some light flirting, plus some photos of each other, on the job, as they've obviously worked together before. Along with this was an exchange about my partner bringing Matt into the airport lounge which she's a member of. It obviously happened a few times as there was references of meeting up to do it in different locations, airports. One time she texted, "You should have been with me today, they put me in the business lounge." I have to say this bummed me out, as this is something she and I do when we travel. Along with this were text photos like, "Look at this place I am," or, "How bad is this traffic?" There were some photos she never sent me, plus a few she did. There was one where she must have texted me and then him, or vice versa, as they were basically the same content at the same time. He also sent texts referencing her education history and audio recordings of animal noises saying that she'd inspired him to take notice of nature. This is not information she offers within 5 minutes of meeting her. The texting was happening while we were together and she was away from work, so it wasn't all purely work-related. In fact, much of it wasn't, although some of it certainly was just mundane work stuff. I'm really struggling to reconcile how chummy they are when frankly I've felt pretty ignored. Our sex life hasn't been amazing because of her fatigue and some confidence issues. I've lost a lot of weight, she's gained weight, and just struggling to feel connected. I brought it up that I feel like she's kind of disconnected, and while she wasn't dismissive, everything I mentioned had an excuse, e.g., I changed my phone password because of a credit card app, or, I'm just tired, etc. When I mentioned it feels like she's overly chummy with some work people, she reeled off a bunch of names and how they're not great to work with, but very pointedly left out Matt's name and his position in the scheme of work. I'm going crazy trying to make sense of it, without blatantly saying I read her messages. I'm truly ashamed of that, but I also can't stop thinking about just how friendly it all is. Especially when the way she describes work is long stretches spent alone and missing me. We're both introverts, so we rarely go out of our way to spend extra time with people, in airports or not. The big issue I have is that if she came back to our home energized and attentive, I wouldn't care who she's spending time with, or how chummy it is. But when I get all the tiredness and distance, it feels unfair. I'm genuinely going crazy and I need some objective opinions, so please help Reddit. And #X200B. Too long did not read. Partner has been texting a work colleague while being absent at home. It sounds like an emotional affair at minimum. She's giving more of her time to another man and hiding it so she knows she's wrong. You should tell her that you've noticed her change in behavior which made you worry and look through her messages. If it hasn't been physical yet, it's on its way. It's an invasion of privacy, but her actions warranted it. Ask why she never talked about him and why she thinks it acceptable to invest more time in their relationship. Get prepared to be disappointed, but don't let her turn it around on you being jealous, insecure, or invading her privacy. Good luck. If you think something is different, strange, it probably is. Read more stories out here about people and their phones, hidden, protective. Sounds to me like you do have something to explore and possibly worry about, sorry to say. And her work travel, coming home distant, etc. Man, oh man. Distant to you, too tired. She is avoiding you because she is thinking of someone else. Sadly, I think something deeper is going on. If you want to know the truth and her reaction, mention his name to her. Just say, "So who's Matt?" Or just keep reading those messages on her iPad and feel bad. Sorry this is happening to you. The most suspicious thing about this is that she left him out when listing her other work friends and has never mentioned him, despite them being close. This will eat you up. Come clean and ask her who he is. So far none of the messages you referenced sound sexual in any way. She's spending time traveling with this person and it could just be friendly and nothing more. If there's trouble in your relationship, you need to address that. This could be a harmless friendship, a harmless crush, or the beginning of something else. You won't know until you have a direct discussion with her. As for reading her messages, you have to come clean. You can't expect honesty without giving it. Stop beating around the bush and tell her exactly how you feel and what your concerns are. If you're drifting away and don't figure out why, she might just drift into an affair. None of the messages are indicative of anything sexual by nature. If there have been long-term changes in your relationship, perhaps you both need to have honest discussions about your needs and reassess what you can do to address them. Relationship counseling is also an option. It sounds like there are bigger issues and this Matt work colleague is just a symptom of those larger ones you both need to address. Did I really win the guy? Over a year ago I started innocently flirting with a guy that I worked with. He was about 10 years older than me, for context. A few months into the flirting we started to date. After a few dates he informed me that he still lived with his ex-girlfriend. He explained that they still lived together because she didn't work and due to the pandemic, but that they were done because the relationship was toxic and they slept in 2 separate rooms. I stupidly continued to date him because I'm young and just wanted to have fun and knew I didn't seriously see myself with him. After a few more months I found out I was pregnant. I had previously suffered a miscarriage, so I decided to keep my son. When I told him, he became overjoyed, because he thought he couldn't have children based on the previous relationship, with this ex. After going to the doctor I found out how far along I was and also that I had 2 STDs. This confirmed that everything he said about him and the ex was all a lie. I decided to distance myself even though we worked together. I eventually came back around after him continuously reaching out and trying to make something work. But then after going to doctor's appointments alone I realized it was an illusion of something that wasn't going to happen. After a while I started getting threatening calls and texts from his ex on my personal phone and work phone. During this time there was also lots of work gossip, people saying mean things about me and to me. And I found out there was possible brain issues with my son. Thankfully he's okay now. This caused me to become very depressed and I stopped interacting with my family and friends due to this and embarrassment, hiding my pregnancy. He also started denying that my kid was his when others would ask and imply I was sleeping around. After this I completely cut off communication with him. I spent the holidays completely alone and became sick and spent the day after Christmas in the hospital alone. Fast forward to a few weeks before I give birth. He decided to do a complete 180 and started bringing random things for the baby. Even though I already had everything I needed at this point. I reluctantly allow to be there while I give birth and give our child his last name and allow him to choose the middle name. He was amazing and very supportive during the birth and never left my side. But now that we have our child, he wants to put the past behind us. His ex is now gone and be a family. For the past months since having our son I've tried to make a relationship work, but as time goes on I don't want that. It's hard for me to just forget the past and act like nothing has happened. He is constantly upset because he feels like I don't care and don't want a real relationship and I'm just stringing him along. I just can't shake the feeling about how alone and depressed I was during my entire pregnancy, and now he just wants me to forgive him and forget. It's also been hard to shake because I'm constantly reminded because his mom will ask me questions about my pregnancy, why didn't I have a baby shower? Why didn't I tell her, etc. I will find things about his ex, or he will tell me a story and I'll realize that he lied to me in the past. My friends tell me I should just let it go because he's a good man and I won in the end. But in reality I didn't. I love my son more than anything and would love for him to grow in a happy two-parent home, but I hate his father for how manipulative and malicious he was during my pregnancy. Should I try to make things work, for the sake of a family? Or what should I do? He's a cheater, he gave you STDs, he's hot and cold with you, he constantly lies. He's not a good father or role model. He suddenly wanted you and wanted to change, but I think it's more his ex left him and he didn't want to be single, so he picked that moment to promote you to girlfriend. Is this the life you wanted? People will always tell you to let something go, but usually that person wants to feel like they're helping rather than actually help. I hope you have a good sense of humor. Playing stupid games wins stupid prizes applies pretty well here. This guy seems everything else but a good man. C left him and you became the backup prize. Face with raised eyebrow, that's not a win. Giving your kid his last name was a really stupid idea. 'Cause hell be gone in 5 years or less. You never forget how you're treated during pregnancy and postpartum. You'll probably always resent him for it. He's 10 years older, here we fucking go again. My girlfriend, 30F, contacted an ex to introduce him to a friend of her. I, 36M, am jealous. Hi everyone. So, we've been together for around 8 months. Yesterday my girlfriend told me she contacted a guy she had a short story with to introduce him to a friend of her who is looking for a boyfriend. My girlfriend had sex just once with this guy, but they dated a couple of times more. At the beginning of my relationship with my girlfriend, he once tried texting her and inviting her for a drink, but she immediately told him she was engaged with me. The idea now is that she invites this guy to drink something with her friend, so that she, her friend, can meet him. She wants to be a sort of matchmaker. Well, this whole thing really bothered me. I'd like to know, what do you guys think? Thanks. Try to be less bothered. How does her friend going out on a date with an ex impact you or the relationship you share? A. She told you, and B. She invited you. TBH, nothing to see here. He's not a guy she was really involved as you described. Women also date, also have sex, also have fun without a deep connection. You should keep cool, apologize and definitely go with them. I dated a guy a few times and after a month we just weren't really compatible. He was with friend though. They were together for 11 years and had 2 kids. They did recently split. But my husband met them multiple times. I told him early on that my best friend's husband was my ex. My husband never said anything to me about it. I know, not really the same but sort of similar. Look at it like this. She bought a cute dress. She wore it once or twice. It's a great dress, but it doesn't flatter her figure. She's too tall, too thin, too busty, or the color is wrong. It just isn't right for her. But she had a friend who is just the right size, and the dress will look great on her. Why not pass along this great dress to her friend? Just because she doesn't care for the dress doesn't mean her friend shouldn't enjoy it. Now while she's doing this, is her new favorite dress going to get jealous? Not a big deal, let her have fun and be a wing woman. I don't think it's unnatural to be a little weary and jealous. I don't think she did anything wrong, but I'm not really down with kicking it with men that have slept with my partner. I do not jealousy, I just don't want that image in my head. How you handle it is key here. Just talk to her about it and try to unpack it. Abi, you can both easily deal with it then.